Welcome to History on Drugs. My name is Sean, and this is going to be a recap episode of season 1, which was 10 episodes, and then we're going to tee up season 2 to tell you all the great things that are being, coming up ahead. So, just first off, I want to thank everybody for listening. I have so much useless information in my head, and the stuff we talk about on this show is like just stuff I talk about. It interests me. I love history, and of course, I spent 10 years working in the substance use field as a counselor and a community engagement manager. So I'm very passionate about history and, of course, helping people with therapy or connecting to resources for substance use. And so in my studies, when I was getting a degree in psychology or my substance use counseling degree or all the certifications I got, I constantly had to do research and write papers about how drugs have had an impact on culture and just social norms and society, and that kind of led me down the road of some of the topics we talk about. And so then doing this podcast, I was able to go deeper on some stuff, and it's been pretty awesome and interesting. When we started doing this, I figured like 20 people would listen to it, but at the end of season 1, we have over 2,000 streams, which is not huge, but it's pretty awesome considering we never thought it would even be bigger than a handful of people. And I'm going to share a little bit of data with you. I know data is boring, but it's really interesting. So this is what's awesome about the internet and the ability of anyone to create a podcast, because this stuff is reaching people literally around the world. So I have some notes here. So about 62% of the people listening are from right here in America. I'm based in Connecticut, but it's all over America, that 62%. The next largest market listening is Australia. That's pretty cool. And then Canada and the United Kingdom. But we're also getting listeners from Greece, the Philippines, New Zealand, Portugal, Mexico, Germany, India, and the Netherlands, and even Turkey. So that's pretty remarkable. So whoever you are listening, I truly appreciate it. And for all the people that email us, and you can always email me directly at historyondrugspodcast@gmail.com. Just say hi. You can criticize me. You can compliment me. You can give me ideas or go deeper or have a conversation on content. I've done that with quite a few people. And some of the feedback I got is pretty cool. And I've got this not from one person, not from two people, but from multiple people through email and in my life of people I know that listen. Is so, a couple of people have told me I could just watch this without the sound on because I'm so animated that it's entertaining. So sometimes my hyperness, I guess, is exciting, and it keeps people engaged with the content, or it annoys a couple of people from the emails as well. And to those people, I say, listen to something else or don't watch it. And about 45% of the people are not just listening to it, they're actually watching the video. Of course, you can watch all of these episodes. And all of those 2,000 plus listeners is data from Spotify. That's where everything's coming from. And we only have 30 or 40 subscribers, which I'd love to have more. So if you're listening, please subscribe. We're also up on YouTube. For some reason, I don't get a lot of views or subscribers. I got like 20 or something, not even subscribers on YouTube, and only a couple hundred people have streamed our episodes there. So go check us out on YouTube. Email me, subscribe, go to our Instagram page. I'm always updating when the next episode is coming out. So it's History on Drugs. And I think it's history_on_drugs is our Instagram handle. So please check it out. So I guess some of the things in season 1, I do a lot of research I read documents. I read a lot of books. I listen to other podcasts. I watch a lot of documentaries. And then one thing that kind of pisses me off with other content that's out there, and if you listen to historians or archaeologists that talk about drugs in history, they keep it pretty brief, and they're like, "Oh, there's no evidence that anybody used drugs to get high. It was ceremonial or medicinal." And I've said this a few times in past episodes. If there are drugs in a society, in history, whether a shaman or a doctor or a tribal leader is administering them to someone for something, well, people are feeling the effects. And if people know that they get you high and they feel good, I hate to tell you, they're using them recreationally in some sense, even though they might not be plagued by the same societal problems we are with trauma or pain or a long 9 to 5 job that you're working, just want to have a beer afterwards. That drugs are readily available for thousands of years, whether it was opium or marijuana or coca, whatever it is, people are using them because they can get access to them, and we all know what they feel like. Drugs are great, except for drugs are really bad. But drugs are great, but drugs are really bad. So it really depends on how you use them. If you abuse drugs, they're really bad. And drugs aren't for everybody. So, and I'm certainly never condoning drug use in any of these videos, but no one's going to document, record, or carve into a stone or leave a journal entry behind, or maybe they have, actually, some have, that they just use drugs for fun in history. So, as we're looking at the use of drugs in society in the past, throughout history, we know that if there's opium that's grown there, people are just using them to get high, period. I don't care what a historian says or an archaeologist says, like, there's no evidence of that. They're there, and people are certainly they're certainly using them. So in season one, we had 10 episodes, and it was great. We talked about a lot of stuff. My favorite episode, personally, and content was the stuff on the Civil War causing America's first opiate epidemic, which is crazy, right? It's like this is hundreds of years ago. We knew the problem of opiates then. In fact, thousands of years ago, if you look at other civilizations, we knew the problems of opium then, like it's from the Opium Wars in China, and of course to the Civil War. And it's just crazy that in modern society, we still have an opiate epidemic. Every year, it's like, oh, this many people died. Oh, it goes down, it goes up, but there's fentanyl, there's other drugs coming in. They synthesize it to make it stronger. But the government, at least in America, who was like what the Civil War was, right? It was the government, the governments, right? They formed one in the South, they formed one in the North. We battled it out with soldiers, and then the government denied pensions if people were addicted to the opium and opiates they received in battlefield hospitals. So it's just nuts to think that in today, like, oh, we didn't know these things were addicting. My doctor prescribed it. Or Congress people or senators are like, oh, well, this stuff's addicting. How did we not know? Everyone should know. Okay, it's crazy. So people should make noise, get loud, create a lawsuit, sue your doctor, sue the government. This stuff's been going around, been a problem for thousands of years and hundreds of years right here in the United States. But talking about that content and researching it pretty deep was really interesting to me. So much so that I think maybe not in season 2 and season 3. I'm going to come back to that and go a little bit deeper into some more research I discovered. But that was one of my favorite episodes. And on Spotify, the favorite episode was actually the Nazis on meth, which is cool. That was a very interesting episode. And another thing I do on this show is I might have a couple notes written down, like right here, like there's a note. But I don't have a script, and I know if you're listening to this, you probably listen to other podcasts and or watch YouTube, and you've probably come across like an AI generated podcast. Oh my God, it might have the most perfect voice, but you can tell it's AI, and it's like there's no passion. You might have the facts right or not, and the sentences never end, and it's just it just pisses me off so much when I hear that type of content when I'm listening to stuff. So one of the things I pride myself in, which is a flaw, and it's also good, is I don't come in with a script. I come in knowing the topic that I'm passionate about, that I've researched, and now I try to wing it for 30, 40 minutes, and I'll make mistakes because of that, because I will have a few notes. So in season one, I certainly made a couple errors, and thank you for the two people that pointed out the historically inaccurate errors I made, and we'll address that. Um, but anyways, the Civil War episode was my favorite because that's just fascinating. But in the Nazi episode, I think I referred to as the Nazis created crystal meth. Well, the Nazis technically didn't. The Tremler Corporation, which was a German drug company, they produced the drug Pervitin, which was a crystal meth based drug. And sometimes I refer to it as the Nazis created the drugs. No, the Nazis were using the drug, and so were the Allies. We did history of cocaine, which wasn't that exciting because it's kind of boring. It's not like opium. The history of cocaine was pretty localized to South America, like three countries in the Andes Mountains, and it was just a cocoa leaf. Nobody was doing anything exciting from it, but I think that's pretty cool that for thousands of years they were chewing a leaf to get high so they wouldn't have to eat and they could work long hours. And then for hundreds of years, scientists and druggists and medical researchers were trying to find a way to synthesize what was getting people tweaked out of that plant. And then they finally did it in the 1850s. Egypt, studying ancient Egypt, whether it's drugs or just historically, it's fascinating. If you love anything about history, you know that Egypt is like the premier civilizations with the pyramids and the way they dressed and the way they're depicted through time and the stories. So there's a lot of evidence still being uncovered that through their trade route with Mesopotamia, that they were using tons of opiates and of course marijuana and also plenty of alcohol. The Prohibition episode did not get a lot of streams. And I think it's fascinating. I try to cover it in Prohibition. If you haven't listened to it, to go back. I don't just talk about, that time America outlawed alcohol. I try to give like a historical context for like 80 years of America from pre-Civil War through the Gilded Age, up into the Roaring Twenties, to give a context of why alcohol and other substances started to be a problem in society, because before that, drugs weren't looked at the way they are today. Alcohol wasn't, and drugs weren't looked at like that either. So, anyways, so much great stuff in season one. And if you haven't listened to it, please go back and listen to us. Please follow us on Instagram. I think, I don't know, we have like 800 followers, something like that. I want to have like 10,000 followers. I think this content is so interesting. And if we can get more people to talk about it, it would be great. And let's stop treating history like World War II. If you don't talk about the drug use in World War II and you're learning about it historically, you're not learning about World War II because it played such a pivotal role in it. And same with if you're studying 19th century America and you don't talk about laudanum or opium or morphine, then you're not really having an understanding what it was like to be around in the 19th century in America, because millions of people were using this stuff, not just soldiers getting addicted in hospitals, but we had women and men, and then alcoholism was prevalent, and of course cocaine came up, and as the settlements out west happened, cocaine was being sold everywhere, and the cowboys were using cocaine and spreading it around, and of course the opium was coming in from both sides because the Chinese immigrants working on the railroad were using opium in one form, and they were bringing it in, and then we were doling it out on the East Coast, just ordering it at a pharmacy or through the Sears and Roebuck's catalog. So that's season one. Season two Coming up in just a couple weeks, we're going to launch our first episode. And in season 2, we're going to make a couple changes. So I've got a bunch of emails that didn't understand, especially people from other countries, about some of the history I was talking about. So I'm talking about history and the Civil War, but I didn't really talk about the Civil War in depth. So what I think I'm going to do in season 2 is we're going to set the stage. We're going to talk about the basic history and how the drugs were used in it. But then at the end, I'm going to take a deep dive historically. And I'm not a historian, so if you don't want to listen, then don't, or just turn it off after the drug part. And I'm going to do a little bit of a more, hopefully funny, but still a little bit topical look at the history of each episode and not just the drugs in history. But the drugs in history will be the feature, but we're going to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to try to improve the production a little bit. I don't have a production team. It's just me, this microphone, my laptop, and this like Amazon ordered camera with a light on it. So I'm going to try to do better with images and adding better clips and cuts in there. It's time consuming. This is a hobby, but I'm going to try to improve that a little bit. I got like 3 or 4 emails saying, please improve that. And I'm going to do my best, on that. All right. So what's coming up in season 2? We're going to kick off with something I've been going so deep the last month or so, and I've been doing this for years, researching this topic. It's going to be on John F. Kennedy. I think he's the 35th president of the United States. We'll get the exact fact when we do the episode. And of course, unfortunately, he's famously known for getting his head blown off in Dallas and dying. And there's all these conspiracy theories about, oh my God, how did he die? It's kind of like in season 1, the conspiracy theories: who built the pyramid? Was it the aliens? Ooh, or did civilization get wiped out through the Younger Dryas theory, and they were actually built thousands of years before, and there's some special technology that was lost? Then that's not likely. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at all the drugs JFK was using. Like, he had a very similar drug behavior as Adolf Hitler did in World War II, where he had a private doctor, right? So there's a lot of facts that support this. His medical records were released in the early 2000s. And of course, all the document dumps from his killing, or his murder have been getting, just recently, thousands more were released. I spent a lot of time in the Mary Farrell Foundation, where they helped summarize the documents that were released. And you can go to the CIA website or the National Archives, and you can read a lot of these documents themselves and make up your own mind about how JFK was murdered. But we're going to talk about his drugs, how their family was established. If you listen, go back. No one listen to the Prohibition episode. Go back and listen to it, because Kennedy's dad made millions and millions of dollars by working with the mob during Prohibition to illegally smuggle alcohol. And that's kind of what set up the family of the Kennedys to be like one of the richest families in America. But we're going to talk about JFK's drug use, how it may have impacted his presidency, and like the risks that he was taking with it. And we're going to talk about all the women JFK was sneaking around with too, and the dangers of that. So we're going to talk about the drugs, and then the second part, we're going to look at the Dealey Plaza murder in Dallas. Who killed JFK? So I got some great factual evidence, non-conspiracy theory stuff about the cover-up. Right? We're going to talk about that, and then we'll lay out some possibilities of why or who, what the motive was for him to be killed. I don't have all the answers, so we wouldn't be sitting here with just 2,000 listeners, but I certainly can lay it out in a way you might not have heard it before, and maybe start to help you think like, that's interesting, or maybe you just don't give a shit. But the JFK assassination is like one of the biggest murder mysteries of our lives. And I wasn't even born, but I would say the last 100 years or so. What else we got? I got a list here. Oh, we're going to do, another CIA thing, if you listen to our CIA crack cocaine episode in season 1, we're also going to talk about the CIA doing a program called MK Ultra here in America, where they were testing out drugs like LSD on unknowing participants and trying to see if they could use drugs to help carry out military operations. We're going to talk about that. We're going to go deep into the history of alcohol. I mean, almost 10,000 years ago, like brewery like items and facilities have been discovered in Eastern Europe. Like that's crazy. So we're going to track alcohol through time and see where that came from. And we're going to attempt to do it with weed. Now we can trace weed thousands and thousands and thousands of years back, but a lot of it was just to use as hemp, right? For rope and clothing. So I'm still trying to uncover through research more evidence, or when were people getting high from it? Was it the Chinese people doing it 7,000 years ago, or was there someone else? So we're going to hopefully be able to dive deeper into that. We're going to look at drug use in World War I. That was a pretty big deal. World War I was fought not just in Europe, it was literally fought everywhere around the world. World War I. But it was fought in more places than you probably can imagine. And there was a lot more drug use than you've probably ever learned about in World War I. Then we're going to talk about the Roman Empire and the opium use there. There's a lot of Galen of, I think we talked about this maybe in another episode, or maybe I just had a conversation and think it was an episode. But anyways, Marcus Aurelius, like one of the most famous Roman leaders, it's documented that he was addicted to opiates. So we're going to talk a little bit about opiate use in the Roman Empire. And then I'm going to try to do more fucked up situations the CIA has done, because it wasn't just the crack cocaine epidemic. It wasn't just the MK Ultra. They were also doing the Golden Triangle and Vietnam. And we touched on that just a little bit. But they're also working with the Corsican mob in Europe. So there's a lot of times in history where the American CIA were using drugs to help fund covert operations. So we're going to go a little deeper in that. And then we're going to look at more ancient cultures and the drugs they use for ceremonies, like the peyote by the Native Americans, or the Aztec civilization, and the drugs that they were using, right? There's a lot of psychedelics in some of these ancient cultures. So that's just some of the stuff coming up on season 2. I hope through production we'll have the first episode on JFK, which might run in 2 parts, maybe not. We'll see. It's a lot of content. My goal is to have that out in the next 7 to 10 days. But as always, I'm so grateful for everyone that listens. I'm so grateful for all your feedback. And again, shoot me an email, stay in touch, and we'll be back soon to kick off season 2 of History on Drugs.
One,